These people are Nazis! Hopefully your brain is still working. Hopefully most of you are at least waiting for me to point at something before you pull out the pitchforks, right? You have to judge cases on their individual circumstances before that switch flips in your brain and you go into mob mode and you start lusting for blood regardless of where the finger is pointed, right? Good, I'm glad we're on the same page. These people are pedophiles! Are we still on the same page? Yes, your brain is still in its settled default position where you have not even the inkling of a desire to burn anyone at the stake just yet. Good. If without further elaboration at all, there already turns out to be any part of your peasant brain that's in any way tempted to call me a Nazi defender or a paedophile defender, leave now. You are already beyond our reasoning. For what it's worth, by the way, I think paedophiles are worse than Nazis. I certainly think paedophiles are more dangerous than Nazis because we live in a political climate where paedophiles are a bigger problem than Nazis, and paedophiles are a problem more normalized than Nazis. But it entirely depends on the publicized political persuasion of those paedophiles and those Nazis. This, again, is something best analysed on an individual basis and indeed a localized basis. In Hollywood, paedophiles are a bigger problem, but in Ukraine, it's very arguable that Nazis are a bigger problem. Do I mean the ones invading it or the ones defending it? Oh, tick the box that offends you most and go ahead and seethe, friends. I'm fully aware that I'm treading on two different tightropes here, and the reason it's such a feat of gymnastics is because one of these tightropes is invisible to one group and luminescent to another group, and vice versa. I am not going to punch an accused Nazi unless I can be sure, absolutely sure, for myself, that they really are a Nazi and that they present an imminent danger to other people. And I'm not going to string up an accused paedophile unless I can be absolutely sure for myself that they really are a paedophile who presents an imminent danger to other people. Are both of you still with me? Again, if your brain has fallen out in either direction, leave. You clearly can't handle so much as the tip of the iceberg of offensive content. Go back to your safe space. You are welcome here, but you will be ignored. When Justin Trudeau accuses peaceful protesters of being Nazis just because they opposed the regime, he plants the Nazi regalia on those protesters and he goes on to trample them with horses and freeze their bank accounts. I am not going to switch my brain off and celebrate whatever the glorious leader does to those indefensible Nazis. And when Vladimir Putin accuses peaceful protesters of being paedophiles just because they oppose the regime, he plants the child pornography on those protesters. He goes on to send them off to an island prison colony to be beaten and buggered for the rest of their short lives. I am not going to switch my brain off and celebrate whatever the glorious leader does to those indefensible paedophiles. Stay with me, both of you. I said accused. I presume I'm talking to two different sets of small L libertarians here. Frankly, I'm not interested in getting through to the authoritarians. None of you spell your authoritarianism with any case of the letter A. You're all very much in denial. So I must be talking to the bottom left square and the bottom right square, correct? Those of you who, despite your libertarianism, very much want to execute anyone who the state accuses of Nazism, and those of you who want to execute anyone who the state accuses of paedophilia. I have at this point come close enough to my point to be able to ease you into it, and it is this. Nothing of which the state accuses someone should make your brain switch off like that. Because if the state can make your brain switch off just by virtue of an accusation, then they will use that accusation to disappear any given enemy of the state, and it's only a matter of time before it includes you. I realise at this point there are very few people left in my audience who are on the side of punch the Nazis. By now you're aware that there really aren't all that many Nazis in the world, except in Ukraine. So it's pretty obvious which angle I should focus on, at least for the most part in this presentation. Picture the scene, if you will. A man is murdered because a child was raped. I won't insert any article excerpts here, but I'm sure you can recall one point or another when you've seen that kind of article, relaying that kind of news story. A man is accused of raping a child, and that man, as a result of that accusation, gets murdered, either in prison or outside it. I've seen that kind of article relayed many a time by people who cheer enthusiastically as they relay it. A child was raped and a man was killed. Hooray! 3 cheers for what has happened here. Let us drink and be merry, my fellows, for a child has been raped and a man has been killed. Have you ever found yourself doing that? Enthusiastically cheering because events conspired to rape a child and kill a man? But pardon my controversial ask, but I'm not going to celebrate that series of events, even if every step of it is true. Here are the possibilities. Scenario number 1. A child got raped and a guilty man was killed. Scenario number 2. A child got raped and an innocent man was killed. Scenario number 3. A child didn't get raped and an innocent man was killed. Now, obviously I should first address scenario number 1, the event in which it can be proven beyond reasonable doubt that an adult raped one or more children. This does indeed happen. Regretfully, there are some such criminals who will commit this most unthinkable of crimes and go on to confess it without any remorse whatsoever. They may even be proud of it. Such psychopaths do indeed exist, as rare as they are and as difficult as it may be to think about. In such a case, there is indeed every reason to conclude that such criminals should face the full extent of the law, perhaps up to and including execution. I might even go so far as to say yes, cut their bollocks off, cut their legs off to the pelvis and throw them in the wood chipper dick first. But I'm not going to celebrate what happened there, because, pardon me, but a child has been raped. Nothing will make me rejoice at a series of events which include a child being raped. Not even if those events include a psychopath being wood-chipped. I might sing a song about it, maybe even a funny song, and that might make me feel slightly less sick, but it won't make me feel good. All it can possibly do is bring me to a smaller negative integer than before. God bless you, please, Mr. Rosenbaum. If even you turn out to be innocent despite your multiple convictions, then I am truly sorry for that song I did. But beyond reasonable doubt means just that. I wouldn't trust the state to kill you, but I would trust a guy who you tried to kill you. Or a guy you tried to... whatever might have been on your mind there. Point is, who is telling you that this man is guilty? Is it the state? Is it the media? Or is it someone you trust? In the 999 times out of 1,000 in which it is indeed the state or the media, then maybe you should think twice before reacting into this reaction in which you've been deceived, eh? Even in the once in a blue moon when they might be telling you the truth, they're only telling you the half of the truth they want you to know about. You're still better off turning that dial to off and celebrating good things. Namely, things that don't involve murder or child rape at any point. Just a thought. Alright, so, scenario number 2. I hope that now that I've acknowledged the feasible existence of scenario number 1, you can in turn acknowledge the feasible existence of scenario number 2. A child got raped and an innocent man was killed. This is where it gets very difficult for anyone who has smiled, laughed and pumped their righteous fist in the air at such a scenario in the assumption that they were dealing with scenario 1. You cheered for the rape and murder of 2 innocent people. How are you going to live with yourself? Like ever. I'd like to think future generations will look back at these early naughties of ours and realise, albeit with an acute sense of horror, just how sadistically insane so many people went with regard to what so many teachers and doctors did to our children, with their consciences intact. I'd like to think it'll be remembered as a brief period of mass psychosis, but I'd also like to think people can look back without indefensible hypocrisy as they continue to celebrate innocent children getting raped and innocent men getting killed. A child was raped, an innocent man was killed, and you publicly laughed and smiled and called for even more blood. Seems like the kind of thing you shouldn't do. Seems like the kind of thing you should be really, really sure you don't do. If not for its own sake, then at least because once you've done it, you'll have trouble ever admitting you did it. You were a cheerleader for the rape and murder of innocent people. Because at least the murder was at the hands of the state, and you trusted the state to be doing the right thing. I realise this will fall on the deaf ears of millions of people who already trust the state with the chemical murder of countless innocent people, while they call it inoculation. They already live in the Big Brother future, in which they would rather torture and execute their children than admit for a moment that the government has lied to them. Not only will their brains switch off at the whim of the state, they can't even switch them back on again. Ever. I don't expect to get through to such people. They are already lost. They'll never be able to come to terms with what they've done. They will take the lie to their graves, having long since buried their grandchildren in 4-foot coffins and blamed it on anything but the eugenics program into which those children were enrolled against their will. But those of you who still live, at least on the fringes of this outlandish ethical geography, where you can still muster a semblance of thinking for yourselves, know this. And if any given state accusation makes your brain switch off, to the degree to which you will celebrate the rape and murder of innocent people, then it's only a matter of time before they get you too. All they have to do is accuse their political opponents of that thing that makes your brain switch off, and they will win. Forever. I'm not even going to try addressing scenario number 3, because that involves children lying. And that never happens. Right? They lie about the cookie jar, but they would never lie about anything else. Certainly not your children. See what your brain's doing there? That's why I'm not even addressing it, because your brain's already switched off. Children are pure. Children are innocent. Think of the children is the brain's oldest kill switch. And I'm not expecting you to notice it anytime soon. And I won't bother addressing scenarios 4 to 6, in which an adult woman is killed over an accusation of raping a child. Because that genuinely doesn't happen. The murder, the rape definitely does, but the subsequent murder does not. I'd rather it continued not happening. You can imagine a world in which scenarios 1 to 3 don't happen either. That requires a world in which men are shown the same, or at least a similar level of compassion to which women are showed. And they are given at least a semblance of the benefit of the doubt in the events that they are considered to deserve it. Maybe men also can get a fair trial in the court of public opinion before they get the wood chipper of public opinion. I don't know. But I'm trying to be realistic here, one step at a time. The first step is think for yourself. Don't let any set of words switch your brain off. Any word or set of words. Let nothing switch your brain off except you and your own undivided permission to switch your own brain off under controlled conditions. You don't even have to think about what I just said. Just kick back with a nip of your favourite drink or a few tracks of your favourite album. You are completely at liberty to change whatsoever your favourite might be. Switch it back and forth at your own leisure and at no one else's command. Don't switch your brain off until you have switched off your phone, your TV, your computer, whatever bullshit newspapers you're reading and whatever bullshit books you're reading. There is a time and a place for switching your brain off, and it's called sleep. You are in charge of your own switch. Never forget it. Never relinquish it. Never put anyone else or anything else in charge of it. Goodbye. And fuck right.